Mm-hmm.
So there's a hint at mental depression and the obviously the pitfalls of being depressed and everything that you can do, and it's it's the fight for the cause of people that suffer in this world now. So many people unfortunately are that way inclined. So the title was quite important to me, but anyway, maybe when we go on vinyl we can rectify that error. Magnetic Lunchbox is about the homelessness in the United Kingdom, which is very, very bad. I mean, for example, if you come to Manchester, the people in the city centre line up the streets. And so Magnetic Lunchbox was about the homeless here. And we have various organisations going to the streets and giving them food while throughout every 5 hours various organisations, charities. So that was the Magnetic Lunchbox. That was the reason for the title.
Nice. Yeah, that was. It came on powerful that way. Yeah. I could see it. And then you came with the vocals on the next one. Yeah.
What's the next one?
Justington.
Oh yeah. Sophia Di Viono. I'm quite unconventional when I find my musicians. And virtually every album's got a different lineup. Sometimes it's just because that's the way it is. Musicians are not available to me because they've gone on tours with other bands, some well-known bands, and I can't, they can't record with me because they're not in the country, and So obviously I fight for my musicians, and I'm unconventional, and I just went into a music shop and looked on the wall for a vocalist, and I phoned them and I just made them sing over the phone. And as soon as I heard Sophia's voice, I said, right, you're in,
Yeah, she got a nice soft voice.
Yeah, so just sing over the phone, yeah. Oh, this is my YouTube, and this is, I don't want you, just sing part. Well, I can't, okay, see ya, phone went down, yeah. This is the guy who's been busking all these years, so I'm not a conventional person. Right. So I thought those were the confidence just to say, yeah, I'll sing this, and, and I could hear the voice. So I signed her straight up, and, yeah, she was fantastic. Yeah, I ghosted the lines for her, and, she just came in, and with Dave Pemberton, the producer in MCC Studios here in Manchester, we came up, get the best out of her voice. And
you do a lot of work in Manchester, huh?
Yeah. I've got a few gigs coming up next few weeks. It's developing. I'm trying to set up a tour for the summer right now, so I'm in talks with various for a UK tour. So I'm in talks with various promoters. I mean, a lot of the three Latin albums that I've had were Samba of Love, which was signed in Brazil, and there were 10 original songs on that. And then Love Spring Fountains, and there was 10 original songs on Love Spring Fountains album. And actually, Gibby dos Santos, who is Carlos Santana's percussionist, is actually featured on 2 tracks of Love Spring Fountains. And how magically that happened was that a vocalist who heard my stuff in America sent him the stuff, and he wanted to play on it. And he's currently Carlos Santana's #1 percussionist. And, he contacted me and said, hey, man, I want to play. I want to put some percussion on that, So that was, a big scoop. And then the third one is the current one, Magnetic Lunchbox. But, yeah, I guess the way I saw it, with the Beatles connection, behind recording it, literally the Beatles connection. I saw it as a modern-day Sgt. Pepper. Obviously, I set the vocals in that, we multi-tracked Sophie's vocals on the Magnetic Lunchbox. But like I say, last 2 weeks I've had an absolute deluge of producers, remixers saying, Sam, can we remix Rooftops one or another one? Can we remix Jessington Plays? Yeah. Oh, we love Pele's Groove. And I wrote that for the Brazilian World Cup. Mm-hmm. A couple of years ago. I actually wrote it a couple of years ago. I didn't record it till November. But we played it live at a venue in Manchester for the World Cup finals, from Brazil. Mm-hmm. So somebody said, "Oh, why don't you do an anthem for the World Cup?" So I thought, I started to write that groove, and then I thought, "Oh, this is good." And then I thought, "Well, we'll call it Pele's Groove because the World Cups were in Brazil." So, and it was just shelved, and I must have literally had about 50 tunes to pick 5. Yeah. I was going to do a full album, and then everybody in the music industry said, "No, nowadays people do EPs." Yeah. So I do 4 tracks. So I said, "Well, I'll do 5," and made a little compromise. And there was gunfire in the studio. Man. Wow. I had to boot the guitarist out. And yeah, man. If they don't listen to what I'm saying, because it happened on another album as well, actually, and because they're conventionally taught, and some of the, like for Blues Coldy say, "Oh, this will never work. You can't go from that tempo to that tempo, and oh, those chords, that's not right. That doesn't sound right." And I'm just sort of trying to be polite and sort of say, "Shut up and play. Trust me." Right. It's a good song, but because the way I'm used to it, and then I wound up booting this guy literally out of the studio, and Dave Pemberton's looking at me like, this Abbey Road producer, and I said, "It's all right, Dave, the gory bit's over now," and he couldn't stop laughing, so because he obviously knew it wasn't a new experience to me, oh, not again, not another one, Ye of Little Faith, Ye of Little Faith. So, but then, like I said, that track, that argument was over. But it was Blues Coldy Sax. The rhythm, the change of rhythms and vibes within the song. And like I said, South America seems to be loving all the Brazilian guys, all the stations that playlisting Blues Coldy Sax. So I think I was right, yeah? That's all I can say.
Yeah.
But that's what, I have to face up to that, that sort of stuff. I have to juggle egos. So there's a lot more to, I can say to them, well, how many times have you... I played 5 times at Ronnie Scott's, and I can say, how many times have you played at Ronnie Scott's, No, I haven't got a jazz degree. You know what I mean? How many times you been to jail?
Oh man, they can't say anything. Yeah,
they can't say that. I mean, all those people we talk about. From Colt, Charlie Parker, all the great. So many of them were in and out of prisons and drugs. That's what jazz was. Yeah. It wasn't this a sort of middle-class bureaucracy, adopting jazz and making it educational and then ruling out the street players because they couldn't afford to go through the system. Yeah. And, unfortunately, that's a lot how jazz seems to operate a lot worldwide. With the Cavemen, we created our own circuit, We created our own vibes, and we were followed, and then the jazz hierarchy come on board anyway. Yeah. And the same thing going with Sam Q's Nightpatrol. It's exactly the same going right now with us. Gigs that we do are unconventional. In 3 weeks, I'm playing at an indie venue, indie venue, Manchester. Unheard of with indie bands, and straight straight sort of commercial hybrid bands, you know. And there we are, Sam Q's Nightpatrol.
Yeah.
So, you know, I fight back in my own way, and you do have to fight back against that sort of philosophy with a lot of these jazz promoters. You know, it's a lot of the gigs are just dominate. I was talking to a bass player in New York recently, and his father was very, very famous bass player. He played with Coltrane and all those people, and I said, "How many are you getting gigs, jazz gigs?" He said, "I'm doing wedding functions." Yeah, because he said all the educational system, all the players, you know, coming out of Berkeley, and you know, they're getting all the jazz gigs. Yeah, right. So I knew, you know, I was doing the best that I can do with what I've got. And what I've got is strong. It's powerful. It's moving people. We got stage dancers, and the whole. There's no plays where we have played as a 6-piece that everyone's dancing on the tables by 11 p.m. Also when I did an album, I had a rap mix as well. I have to tell you about. It was an album by a rapper called MF Grimm. Did you ever come across MF Grimm?
Yeah, and I actually looked it up. I already looked it up.
Oh, you know about that?
Yeah, I've been studying. I've been doing my research now. But tell me the story, please. I want to hear it.
Well, the album was Stalker CID, and I had a track on there called Snakes and Ladders, and he contacted me from the States, and I don't know how he'd heard it, and he was putting together a triple hip-hop album. He said it's the first historical triple hip-hop album in the States or something. And it was his story, you know. He had spent years in prison, and he was with the Tupac and all those people, wasn't he? He was part of that group, and he was shot, and he died, and he was brought back to life, and he was in a wheelchair, and he was doing his epic sort of trilogy, and he said he really but he said he started to cry when he heard Snakes and Ladders. Which is more like experimental jazz. That CID album isn't Latin, right? Stalker CID isn't Latin. This actually has got 2 Latin tracks on there, but the rest of it is sort of experimental, progressive jazz.
Right.
And he said as soon as he heard Snakes and Ladders, he was in tears, and he was saying, please, can I license stuff? Please, I've got this triple. And he said it's going to be a spoken word song.
Yeah.
Again, you know, to be hit up from New York, from a rapper, you know, of his sort of caliber, I guess, you know. I'd never heard of him, but then, you know, I did some research, and I thought, oh, yeah, there was MF Grimm, and there was another one, MF Doom or somebody.
Yeah.
It was, you know, I believe. And,
it's MF Doom, right?
Yeah, but this was MF Grimm, right? So I don't think he was as famous commercially as MF Doom. Right. And I think there was some sort of rift between them to do with Tupac, as he was telling me on the phone conversation. So I don't understand the politics of all that, but... Anyway, so he did, you know, he did this mix, his hip hop, or what he called spoken word, and it sits on that trilogy. It was breakfast, dinner, and supper. You know, each. So did you hear it?